Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first football press conference of the season. Normally, we'll be on Mondays. However, with Labor Day being yesterday, we booted to today. Paladins coming off of the season opening loss at Ole Miss. The new polls are out, and Furman is ranked 15th in the Stats Perform FCS poll, number 16 in the coaches poll after week one. Home opener is this coming Saturday. It's FU After Dark, the Trilogy, 6 o'clock kickoff against Charleston Southern here at Paladin Stadium. We'll have all the broadcast information at the end of the press conference. We'll ask Clay Hendricks to open with a statement as he normally does, and then I will give Tom Van Hoy the privilege of asking question number one today.
All right. Hey, thank you, Dan. Appreciate you guys being here, obviously, here on Tuesday. Tough weekend, lots of ways. Brutally tough trip, 48-hour trip, and we were on the bus about 18 of the 48 hours. We rolled in here Sunday morning at 8:30, and coaches went to work from the bus, and we flipped days with our players. They had Sunday off. We came back in yesterday morning and really got rolling, heavily towards correcting last week and trying to move forward to Charleston Southern. So, again, obviously really disappointed. Really the way it played out, I know you go back and watch the tape, kind of an odd game from a standpoint. I was looking for guys turning it down. I was looking for guys not laying on that. I didn't find a lot of that. We just got beat by a much better team, and obviously, there's a lot of things we could do better. There is a lot of good we found. There's some things we got to get fixed, and we'll continue to get better. But, our guys will bounce back. They probably bounce back better than I have. But just disappointing and, happens in a game. It's the age of college football. We played a team that tempoed, and they tempoed the entire game. They tempoed right to the end of the game. And, and just, really talented group. And if they keep that quarterback healthy, they'll win a bunch of games. They'll probably win a bunch of games even if he's not there, but just really talented group. So with that, any questions?
Your coach, was it just important for your guys to get that kind of experience, a big-time atmosphere, and you knew it was going to be tough coming in?
Yeah, I knew. I mean, we can say what we want. We played the team 50 times. I'm not sure a lot's going to change. The score, we could have done some things to make the score a little different. I think having the opportunity, and a team that plays like that, there's really two things. They're temping. You either got to get stops on defense, or you got to be able to possess the ball on offense. And at least to try to run a little bit of clock, and we couldn't do either one. We dropped a gimme pick. We're off the field. We got him sacked. We got a face mask. It wasn't a face mask. We're off the field. I think his first scramble for a touchdown, Dwayne makes a perfect call. Our guy doesn't execute and do what he's supposed to do. He scrambles for a touchdown. So it was those things. And then offensively, we just had trouble doing much of anything, blocking them. They've been a team that's been outstanding offensively, and now they've bought themselves a really good defense, which I think makes them really good. But, man, they just I've never seen a group. I hadn't played against a ton of those teams. Justin Roper compared them to the 07-08 Southern Cal team just from a talent standpoint. So just never seen that. But we carried 68 kids. I think 58 played in the game. I know we had double-digit first-time starters. I looked it up. About half of our guys really never played a meaningful snap in a game. They had meaningful practice snaps. So, yeah, we'll learn from that. And obviously, obviously we won't play anybody close to that talented going forward. Hopefully the game slows down a little bit. I think we learned some stuff about ourselves. We came out fairly healthy. We went in with, we got 6 guys out for the year. 4 that we started the season with, and we lost 2 more guys in August. And, when you got 60 scholarships and you lose 6, you're playing with 54. They got 85, and they probably got another 20 on money that's getting money as a walk-on in NIL. So, it was yeah. And, somebody mentioned to me on the sideline for the game, not one of our people, but a fan that was down there said something about the Chattanooga game. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, yeah, that can happen to us, and I'm actually surprised it doesn't happen more. I think you'll see it more. I think when somebody's got the will to do that, they can. And, and so I think some people probably don't. I've been in that position a few times. And, I kind of got a way I feel about how to handle it. But, it is what it is. And like I said, we've moved on and we're full steam ahead. But, we learned a lot. That'll help us. That'll help us. And, you don't want to feel that way again. So we'll learn from it.
Do you think, that being the opening game of the season, would it be different? I mean,
I'd much rather play them second.
Right,
To be honest with you, I think the first week everybody's excited. Is it going to change anything? No. Would it have changed anything? No. I think it's funny. This is even coming up with somebody who had a conversation with one of their guys. They thought the helmet communication was huge for them. They go so fast. They have so much time. They're almost running a video game. All their checks. And I guess it cut off at 15 seconds, which I think is what the rule says. Now, I'm not sure about that, how that all works and who's checking all that. But, and so, a guy like that, a veteran guy that they can sit there and communicate with him. And a bunch of, we knew they were checking a bunch too. So, but no, I'd rather had a game under my belt. But I think now probably it's good that it's behind us and we can move forward.
Watching the game, I was thinking about the old saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you better," and it may not be good. I mean, I was worried about the game because it was the opener, and that probably heightened things. But in a way, it's good to get the hit behind you. It's time to move on. I mean, you wouldn't want to open so and so.
Yeah, well, I think, when you see that on the schedule, I've said this all along. I think college football is all about matchups. Man, that's a brutally tough match. They scored points on They scored points on Georgia and Alabama, and they scored points on everybody. And the way they play, and I think, Tennessee, we use that example, is kind of the same way. They play kind of similar style. And to be as young as we were, and then we even got younger in August in the back half because we lost a couple of guys. But what's interesting, you go back and watch it, I don't know how many times, we're matched up with them, and I tell you, the guy could just, I think they got 5 guys out, and we're in pretty good position on 4, and the 5th guy's with his guy, you just can't cover him. And the guy made he just made every throw. And there's some things we didn't do very well, but it was just, that showed up a lot. So it's the stuff you can build upon. I think even offensively, just getting hat on hat, trying to block guys. It was tough going. And we thought we could win a little bit on the perimeter, and we got beat up a little bit at times. Getting off the ball. Then we looked the other side, and Colton Hintz beat his guy. And if we'd have been going there, so it was just you had to be about perfect. And you just I think Justin Roper, just your margin error is so thin. And then like I said, it just kind of, we had 4 pre-snap penalties. I didn't think the environment was, we've been in a lot tougher environments, I thought, other than the team you're playing. Got to get those cleaned up. I thought, a couple of, we get a face mask on a receiver. And I told the guy, I don't think that'll get called again this year in the SEC. And I saw the first picture I saw was of their receiver taking Jalen Motion with his hand and his face, pulling him to the ground. He's got the ball in the other hand. But, we had a couple of chunk plays there, but, like I said, everything was uphill.
Coach, we've all been aware of the difference between FCS and FBS, but there's always been a difference between FBS as well.
Right.
Geography kind of dictates who you guys play versus what other FCS teams play.
Oh, no question. That never gets figured into
Right.
this thing either. So.
Well, now also with some schools having $1 million worth of NIL, do you kind of reevaluate how you schedule? Because I guess you can't really prepare for who's going to have what when it comes to NIL.
Well, I think this, again, it's about matchups, and I don't know. I remember, the only thing I ever remember about this game, maybe it was on the books or just got signed when I got the job. And then we added the William & Mary, which was another longer trip, which I wasn't happy about having both those trips on the same year, And I don't know what Ole Miss hadn't won a conference championship in 60 years, because I looked it up. 60 years since they won a conference championship. Now, when this game was at 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'm not sure what their record was, but I know they weren't nearly as good as they are now. I think sometimes it's catching. You just a little bit of the luck of the draw, and when you catch people there's just certain times you're going to match up better. If you're catching a starter, I watched Western and NC State that night. Western played really well, but we got a new quarterback in there, and he's an old guy, but you could tell he wasn't very comfortable in what they were doing, new offense, and so can you limit how many points? I've always thought these games is who your defense can match up with, and man, who's going to match up with that group? There are a few teams that can, but so it's just I don't think so. It gets one game. We came out pretty, they beat us up. You play some of those matchups. You play somebody that really beats you up because maybe their style of play. Now I think I'd probably rather play one of those teams, just because you feel like if you can keep it in a little more of a phone booth. Now that's not college football today, just matchup wise. But I was proud of how our kids competed. We just weren't good enough, and we got to be better and we'll improve. And the old saying about week 2 versus week 1. And certainly not going to be in a tougher place or a tougher situation to play, and that'll help us.
Coach, we go into the game this week against Charleston Southern. How is the health of the team going in, coming out of the game with Ole Miss?
I actually think it's pretty good. Bumps and bruises. We went over it this morning. I don't know if anybody we won't have available that we didn't have Saturday. We need 2 good days of practice. Charleston Southern, I'm sure they're kicking themselves thinking they should have won the football game. And really good game if you watch it. Kudos to Siddle for coming back in the second half. Hard-fought game. Kicking game really kind of ended up being the difference in the game. This group's added a number of transfers. You watch him even a year ago, Coach Giardini, I got great respect for. I like the guy. Done a good job everywhere he's been. You can tell they got a little unique scheme on offense, which creates challenges, and they're unique defensively as well. But again, I'm thinking they're sitting there thinking they should have won that game. I'm sure we'll get their best shot, and I think they'll get ours too. Coming in. We go from a game to, I don't know. I told our players, that nobody gave us a chance, and everybody will expect us to be the better team. Just how to be expected. We just need to worry about ourselves and seeing what we got to do to get better. And again, I think just the experience of being in that situation and realizing, what you have to do to compete at the level we want to compete at. I think we'll do those things.
Clay, when I talked to Justin for our pregame interview about the quarterbacks, he said that in the plan, and we know how plans go sometimes, but he said the plan with Trey Hedden was not to try to make his debut come in one of those oh crap moments, his words. What'd you think about the way he played? What'd you think about the way Carson played under the circumstances?
I thought under the circumstances they both did some good stuff. They did. Obviously you'd love to have a couple things back, but in some ways we may be protected a little better than I thought we could. But you didn't have a run game, where that could offset that a little bit. We took a few shots, wanted to take a few more. Really Carson only disappointed. We hard count him, and the guy's clearly, he's clearly offsides. We're supposed to snap the ball and get a free play. Well, we don't snap the ball. The clock's been running, so now you got a short amount of time to call a play, and we get a delay right there, and that's on Carson. He knows better, and we should have snapped it. We have one turnover. Think of that game. There was only one turnover. And so, but Trey, the moment doesn't seem to kind of be too big for him. But and I don't think Justin or any of us wanted to put ourselves in a corner where you're saying I'm going to play him on this series. And we actually started the game okay on offense, moving the ball in the first couple of series. We hit a couple of chunk plays and couldn't finish off a drive even to get in position to kick a field goal. But No, I thought they both handled themselves well. I hope the game. I know the game speed-wise will slow down a little bit this week, but I think they'll be better.
Coach, in years past, you've rotated a lot of players in there, and particularly on the defensive line, sides like that. Plan of attack again this year to play a lot of different players?
Yeah, I think we played. Everybody on defense we had, but 2 guys dressed out. So we played probably 3 deep. We're probably not 3 deep in some spots, but I know we rolled 9 defensive linemen. And some of that a little bit because of the way the game went. You probably had them in there a little more than even you would. So, no, I think that'll be the plan. There are a few spots were a little thinner than others, but I still think we got, depth there that we can play. I think we had maybe one little minor cramp, kind of thing that we dealt with. So, again, there's a lot of good things to take off of it.
Kind of switching gears to this week. I don't know how much of the Citadel Charleston Southern game you saw or looked at the film, but
I had a long trip back, so we had a bunch of tape, and yeah. So, but no, we've watched. I've watched it all. I've watched both sides. I've watched the TV copy because sometimes you get a little interesting. You see some things in the TV copy you don't see in the other.
So there was I guess. Charleston Southern jumped out to a 17-3 lead, and Citadel comes back. Is there anything that Charleston Southern did differently, and maybe the Citadel did it differently to adjust to what?
Well, I think first games are always a little unique, and like I said, I think sometimes you can put too much stock in first games. A lot of stuff happens, and people think maybe some people maybe think a little more of themselves after a game. Some people may think you're the worst team in the country after a first game. So you just try to take it with a grain of salt. You watch the tape, and move on. Charles Southern, new quarterback transfer kid, who I think led him in rushing and passing. I thought he played pretty well, particularly in the first half. I'm sure the Citadel seems to be a little different offensively. I'm sure that caught Charleston Southern. It's always, what are you doing different, from the year before? So I think a little bit of that maybe caught up with them a little bit there. I don't think there was a lot. There were a couple of turnovers late in that game, but hadn't been a lot. Like I said, the kicking game came to be a big part of it. It was a pretty evenly matched game. You can imagine those 2 schools as close as they are. That was a competitive. You can tell it was important to both of them, and so I just think it was just more that people made adjustments, and some turnovers played big, late in the game, and then ultimately the kicking game really kind of what decided it.
I know that there are many adjustments that coaches are having to go through that are indirectly but not directly related to changes. But it seems like to me, you've got the analytics, you've got the tendencies, you've got the studies down pat. But early in the season, the people on the field are so different that I know that if you looked at the Wofford-Gardner-Webb game, well, Wofford probably better. Gardner-Webb, who knows, but they have as more starters to replace than you did this year. And so early in the season, how is that to cope with?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just the sideline, how it's different sometimes. There were a couple times we got caught 10 people on the field because a guy came off and one guy wasn't properly equipped and somebody pulled him off. Well, he's supposed to be on the field on the extra point. He's a young guy that's been in our program and hadn't played a lot. So I just think those kinds of things. We went back over the entire trip. What we got to do better. There's certain things you can't control. We blew a tire out. We're not 10 minutes away when we left, and we had a tire and a bus blow out. We converged at 3 buses, and it was an interesting trip. But control what you can control. We looked at everything we did, even staff adjustments, those kinds of things. And I thought that kind of stuff we managed. I think everything. I think a lot of our problems are fixable. I can't say every one of them's fixable, but I think a lot of them are fixable. And again, let's find what we did well. And there were a lot of things we did well. You're blocking a different guy this week. That'll help. Different body. So again, just control what you can control. Don't worry about the other, and just see if you can keep getting better. And leadership's got to continue to come forward. We got some good leaders on this team. We don't have nearly as many old guys. We've been staring at a bunch of old guys over there on the sideline for several years. We don't have those guys. Nothing like we did. And there's an adjustment with that. And you know what? We're kind of a much younger roster, even though we have a mixture of veterans. And there's only two ways to fix it. Quick fix it. You either go buy a bunch of players, or you go take a bunch of transfers. We can't do either one at Furman. So again, it's developing those young guys, and I like the young guys we have. We gotta help them grow up, and our staff does a great job with that. So I think we'll continue to be a team that can improve. I did like the fact we have 4 non-conference games to start our season out. I think that's going to help us. The old punch in the gut salve is a punch in the gut now. That was about a triple punch in the gut, but hey, we'll recover from that too, and it didn't kill us, so we'll be all right.
Coach, I think you alluded to earlier, you're pretty confident in your team to bounce back from the opener, but obviously you got a young secondary, you got younger, as you mentioned in the preseason, and just looking at the Charleston Southern stats, kind of surprisingly only scored 21 given what their quarterback did passing-wise. So I know that's going to be a challenge this week.
I think with the guys, he's I'd best describe him. He's a grad student, so he's an older kid. I don't know a lot about his play. I think it's maybe Sacred Heart about his playing time before, but you can tell he has some poise. He's a good athlete, and he can make throws. Now, a little bit of nature, they have an option to a lot of their offense, and it is they fake something there, and the guy gets turned loose. Well, most guys can throw it down there and complete that pass. But he made some good throws. I think they're a better receiver. I've heard them say that. You can say they have some skill at receiver. So, but yeah, he's very capable in the passing game. They're not a drop back, spread it out. Nothing like what we saw the other night. But just the way they go about it, he's going to have a chance to get some plays down the field. And we just got to continue to do a better job getting to the quarterback. Then we had 2 sacks the other night. I told Hunter the first play of the game was a sack. They didn't give it to us. And then Evan DiMaggio, that had been 4 sacks. That got overruled when they called the face mask. So I think we can do a pretty good job there, and I think it'll be a little bit easier this week. I hope to get after the guy than it was the other night.
Last 2 or 3 seasons. Excuse me, the home atmosphere here at Paladins Stadium has been really good, adding all of the elements outside and translated into more fans in the stands. Just from your standpoint, what does it mean to have a full house, whether it's the home opener or any other game that we have on the schedule? What does that atmosphere mean for you and your players?
Well, I think if you look, Hunter can probably tell you this, Paladins Stadium was open, 1981. I was a year before I came here, and we've won about 75% of our games. So we've been a pretty good home team for 40-plus years. So we've played well at home, and as we've seen that, the TV stuff, how it's changed everything over the years, some things Mr. Donnelly's done to get the student body inside the stadium. Certainly hoping they'll be there Saturday night or Saturday at 6 o'clock, but absolutely that helps. I want that for our players. But, if anything else, I just want it for our players. You put a headset on, you're kind of oblivious to a lot of that stuff, once the game gets going. But I do know that's important to our kids. And, one of the things we want to do is be undefeated at home. And we've been a really good home team, and, we get a chance to try to build on that this week. But, I certainly hope our first time I realized this, first time we'd opened on the road since maybe 18. I think 18 we were at Clemson and then opened on the road over there. So, 6 of the next 11 are at home. I think it's only the 3rd time since 2010 we've had 6 home games. And they've all been 12-game years, So, we'd like to take advantage of that, and so hopefully we'll have a really good crowd out there Saturday.
Final thing as we get ready to wrap it up, and I don't know if there's going to be a release coming on some stuff, so I don't want to circumvent any any surprises that may be coming, but I know there are some plans to honor Bryce Stanfield, number 97, on 9/7, September 7th, which is coming up on Saturday. What can you tell us, or just
Yeah, I
just
think
having his parents, his family stay engaged
Yeah.
with the program?
Well, yeah, it's funny, Dan, you bring that up. Yeah, there is something in place. I think still kind of working through the details of it right now. I think they'll be ready to announce that. You know, I'm sitting there the other night, and I made my way out of the locker room. I got to the bus, and my wife, well, she wasn't quite in there yet, but she made the 18-hour trip too. But I sat there for a while. I thought we were taking a little longer than I thought we should be taking to get out of there. You know, and the problem was we didn't want to leave a bus behind because of the length of the trip. We wanted to stay together. And so I made my way back around there, and there's almost nobody left outside the gate at that time. Well, I ran to a couple of players from the last couple of years that were there, and then I turned, there's Fred and Terry Stanfield. And as bad as I felt, you know, about that whole night, you know, that just kind of changed everything. At first, they were just appreciative, you know, our guys, what they did with his jersey there, you know, for the captains. You know, two of them decided not to go out, and they were going to stand there and hold his jersey, and we sent 3 guys out with that. So, you know, it's perspective, you know, and I've learned a lot about that. And is Saturday the worst thing that's ever happened to this football team or in a long time? Nope, it's not even close. You know, it's not even close. So, but to answer your question, yeah, we got some plans. We got a cool little thing doing. Hopefully, we can get everything that we need to make sure all that happens exactly like we want it to this weekend sometime. But yeah, and you know how, I mean, you know, 9/7, you know, playing on 9/7 home opener, and I think that'll help I don't think our guys will need any motivation, but I think that'll help a little bit too.
Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I just appreciate you being here. You know, again, I'm excited to go back. It's Tuesday. It's work day. We came out yesterday morning with Labor Day, with a holiday, and went a little early and had a really good day in the weight room. And you know, been really pleased how our kids have responded and so far. And like I said, we're ready to. Other than having to talk to you guys about it, I don't really want to talk about it anymore. So, you know, but I appreciate y'all being here. And you know, like I said, I've been, you know, we've all been through that before. And as a head coach, I've been put in that situation where I'm on the other side, you know, and you know how you handle that too, I think is important too. So, but we've moved on. We're ready to get ready for the Buccaneers this week.
Well, I promise you, until we do our pregame interview, I won't ask you about it again. How about that?
Sounds good.
That is Clay Hendricks. This has been our first edition of Furman Football Weekly. Just a reminder that next week we'll get into our regular Monday at 11:30 a.m. schedule. Coming up on Saturday, it is FU After Dark, the Trilogy, 6 o'clock kickoff, the home opener with Charleston Southern, the TV broadcast via ESPN Plus, and, of course, the radio broadcast on our flagship station, the Fan Upstate, begins with the Pepsi countdown to kickoff at 4:30 p.m. Thank you for joining us on this first edition of Furman Football Weekly with Clay Hendricks. For everybody at Furman, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you. So long, everybody.